It has finally arrived! The remake that every SpongeBob fan from the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube era has been waiting for. SpongeBob SquarePants, Bikini Bottom Rehydrated is finally here, and it's actually pretty good. Just to give some background information, I am a big fan of the original game. I am such a big fan, in fact, that I've already made a 5-part review of it. I have been open and hopeful for the remake ever since it was announced, and as soon as I got the cash to purchase it, I did. So to clarify, this review is coming from the point of view of someone who loves the original game, and someone who supported the idea of remaking it. Now, all that taken care of, how was the game? Visually speaking, the game is beautiful. Everything is now in high definition and has this neon look to it. In some places, such as Jellyfish Field and downtown Bikini Bottom, I don't like the new look, but in pretty much everywhere else, I do. The neon look that the remake has looks very well in areas that aren't brightly lit, and in some locations, such as the Goo Lagoon location, I think that it still works too. However, in my opinion, I don't think that this new look works for Jellyfish Fields or downtown Bikini Bottom, and that's unfortunate because besides SpongeBob's house and the other houses that you can explore at the very beginning of the game, downtown Bikini Bottom, and more so Jellyfish Fields, are the two most important areas of exploration for the player. So because this new look, again in my opinion, doesn't work for Jellyfish Fields or downtown Bikini Bottom, this might actually push some people away from wanting to play the game. And I think that this might be true because I was almost one of them. Although I was very excited for the remake, I will admit that the way that Jellyfish Fields looked like in the video game trailers made me worried, and as I began playing the game, I still didn't like the way Jellyfish Fields looked, and that made me worried and concerned that I may have just wasted $30 of my hard-earned cash. Thankfully, by the time I got to Goo Lagoon, I just saw how beautiful this game could be, and also how truly wonderful and improved on this remake can be from the original. Goo Lagoon is the first area of the game that I can confidently say that I like more than the original. The location just looks way better, and I feel the same way about the Mermaid Lair. Again, the neon look of the remake just doesn't work for Jellyfish Field for me, but in other areas and locations, it does, and it also makes them look more appealing. And the best example of this is the location of Kelp Forest, which in the original game I thought was very dark and confusing, but now in the remake, I actually feel like I know where I'm going. So overall, I like the new look that the remake presents for the locations and areas. However, I don't feel the same way about the new character models. SpongeBob looks alright. Again, in Jellyfish Fields, the neon look doesn't work, so it makes him look awful, but in other levels, such as Rock Bottom, his new look is appealing. Sandy's new look is also appealing, but besides her and SpongeBob, that's it. I don't like the way Plankton looks, and I also don't like the way Patrick looks either. Plankton has this blocky look to him that isn't as good as the original character model, and Patrick has this dumb, thin face that looks creepy. Also, I don't like the way Squidward looks or Larry in this remake either, and I don't know exactly why I don't like the new design of Squidward, but I do know that I don't like it as much as the original. And when it comes to Larry, I think that his new red look isn't as appealing as his old orange look. Another thing that I don't like is that all the characters just feel so bright and clean, and it just feels really off-putting to me. And my biggest example is SpongeBob with his super white eyes, but this can be attributed to all of the character models. Lastly, to end this visual section, I'll talk about the enemy designs and the golden spatulas. When it comes to the new Tiki designs, I love them, but when it comes to the new robot designs, I'm not so happy. There isn't any new robot design that I like more than the original, and some, such as this guy, I hate. I hate the way this guy looks now. The old design was much better, and so was the old design of the golden spatulas. Before, the golden spatulas looked like a treasure from the gods, but now, it just looks like a piece of trash metal painted gold. I don't like it. Alright, so now that I've finished talking about how the game looks, let's talk about how the game plays. Again, some stuff is better, and some stuff is worse. SpongeBob's bubble attacks, as well as the other character attacks, are now a lot quicker than before, and when you hit an enemy, you really feel like you're powerful. It was fun to hit things before, but hitting things now really makes you feel like a god among men, or in this case, fish. And when it comes to character controls, SpongeBob's bubble bowling doesn't feel as easy as before, but the cruise bubble does. Sandy also feels much more powerful, but her lasso swing feels rigid and not as polished. Lastly, I'm very happy to say that with Patrick, I feel like I have way more control than before. Alright, so now let's talk about sliding. My biggest complaint about sliding in the original game is that at no point do you ever feel like you need to learn how to slow down until you reach the kelp vines. Because of that, when you do reach the kelp vines, you may fall off a lot and die until you realize that you can slow down by moving the joystick in the opposite direction. In the remake, however, the game allows you to go so very fast that you really need to learn quickly how to slow down. So by the time that you do reach the kelp vines, it doesn't feel like a sudden shock to you that you have to slow down to get to the bottom. Also, just one more complaint for this section. I don't like how the new box mechanic works. Before it seemed like a fun little thing that as soon as you entered it, it engulfed you and spat you out. But now it just feels like the game itself moved you from A to B, and it feels very lame and lazy. Overall, new gameplay is good, but it's not a massive leap forward, and in some aspects it feels like a step back. So now that we're done talking about the gameplay, let's talk about the locations. Alright, for the main locations, we have Bikini Bottom, Jellyfish Fields, Downtown Bikini Bottom, Goo Lagoon, the Mermalair, Rock Bottom, Sand Mountain, the Dutchman's Graveyard, and the Kelp Forest. There are also minor locations like Squidward's House and the Chum Bucket, where you will fight the final battle of the game. Now when it comes to locations, my favorite has always been Jellyfish Fields, but now, in the case of the remake, that is not so. When it comes to my favorite location in the remake, it has to be the Mermalair. The Mermalair is the greatest representation of how good this game can be. It looks far superior to the original, and the challenges don't feel hindered by the controls anymore. The 3-button fruit challenge with Patrick doesn't feel too much like a hassle, and the ball in the cup challenge didn't feel as difficult. However, it also didn't feel as polished. Like when the ball got to here, I was having some trouble, but in the original game, I felt like I pretty much understood what to do on a subconscious level. Anyway, going back to Jellyfish Fields, I think that the reason why this isn't my favorite location in the remake is because of how it looks. The brightly colored kind of neon look just doesn't do it for me in this location. I will say though that it was fun fighting King Jellyfish here because I thought that the fight was more challenging. Alright, so heading over to Downtown Bikini Bottom, I feel like someone must have heard my complaints in my 5-part review because they have been answered here. For example, this woman in the background who was casually strolling before during what is supposed to be a catastrophe is actually freaking out now, and we do actually see the old antenna and the new antenna when Larry asks us to replace it for him. The new stuff is good, but when it comes to controlling Sandy when she's roping Texas icons, it feels more mechanical, and bungee jumping as SpongeBob is fucking irritating now. I feel like I'm an idiot, like I'm doing something wrong when I'm trying to hit these tikis, but I'm not. I've played the original game countless times already, and I know how it should feel to bungee. In this game though, the bungee mechanic is just not good enough for me, and it's a shame since the Sea Needle is supposed to be a fun location. So Jellyfish Fields and Downtown Bikini Bottom were really disappointing to me, but when I entered into Goo Lagoon, that was when my thoughts so far about the game really started turning around. Goo Lagoon looks amazing. It looks way better than the original. I don't like the new design of this robot, nor do I like Red Larry, but overall, this is good. This new fire effect looks cool, the new cave looks cool, and so does the new theme park. A+ on this one, guys. You've earned it. Alright, so yeah, things started really turning around here. Except for a few hiccups. So the first hiccup is that Sandy's Tree Dome, where the challenge is to beat up the robots, it just feels too easy now, and Dehydrated SpongeBob doesn't look as funny. And the second hiccup is the robot boss fights. The robot boss fights are too easy now, and I'm even talking about the final boss fight with Robot SpongeBob. They don't feel like a challenge anymore, and they don't feel like the big event they used to be. Also, before you could knock the sandy robot's head off by stomping on its abdomen, but now you can't. Like, you literally can't. I can understand why they may have wanted to take that out with the robot being a representation of a female and all, but this sandy robot isn't a girl. It's a robot. It's okay to slam onto it. It's not like I have felt any remorse destroying these robots so far, so why should I now? So besides the boss fights, the locations start getting on track with awesomeness, with the new Mermalair, the new Rock Bottom, the new Sand Mountain, the new Dutchman's Graveyard, the new SpongeBob's Dream, and the new Kelp Forest. I love how these new renditions of the familiar locations look now, and Kelp Forest doesn't feel like a confusing mess anymore. I actually was able to get around and see what I was supposed to do, and when it comes to sliding down the kelp vines, except for a few sharp corners, I felt that the slide down was a lot fairer than before. My only complaints when it comes to these locations are that when it comes to the new Sand Mountain, the blue mist in the foreground brings me back to PlayStation 1 Spider-Man, and that just shouldn't be a thing anymore. It was okay back then because of technical limitations, but now it's just a sign of a lack of polish, especially since the original didn't have to do that, and that was only one console generation after the Spider-Man game I just mentioned. Also, Kelp Forest still has that annoying mechanic where you had to switch back and forth in the caves, and throughout the entire game, the only time that the game decided to crash on me was when I was in the Kelp Forest. So it seems to me that even the new and improved Kelp Forest still has issues. Alright, so now that I've finished talking about the locations, let's talk about the cutscenes. So with the cutscenes in this game, although they are in high definition with updated models and updated character designs, they just don't have the same effect on me as the original. The cutscenes are just not as funny. A lot of the humor in the cutscenes came from how the characters look, and the new designs don't express that humor as well. Also, another aspect of the game's great humor was expressed in timing. Two good examples of where the remake fails in this is in the opening cutscene, where we zoom back from the chum bucket, and also where Sandy and SpongeBob high-five each other after defeating the Flying Dutchman. Another example is when Patrick steps on Plankton at the end of the game. In the remake, it doesn't feel too accidental as it did in the original, and because of that, it's not as funny. Alright, so now that I've finished talking about the game's cutscenes, let's talk about the game's biggest fails. When I heard that this game was going to be remade, I was ecstatic. I was excited that I was going to be able to see an updated and new version of one of my favorite games, and part of that expectation was that the game was going to improve on the original, not just in visuals, but also in content. In the original game, there was lots of stuff taken out, and two notable examples is this alternate Patrick stream level and this boss sequence with the SpongeBob robot. I was hoping that these two things would be in the remake, and when I was playing the game and I saw that they weren't there, I was disappointed. The movie theater is also another disappointment. There's only a few images here in the remake, and yeah, there was only a few in the original as well, but they could have improved on that and gone all out. I was hoping to see tons of content here that I can check out, but there wasn't. Okay, so now with all that said, what are my final thoughts? I don't think that Battle for Bikini Bottom is a bad game. I do like it, and I do picture myself playing this game more and more as time passes. I love how some of the new locations look, and I think that Kelp Forest is just a massive improvement. But I also think that this game, the remake, just didn't take some opportunities that a lot of people, including myself, were hoping for. I mean, yeah, they did do a multiplayer mode with Robot Squidward, but they could have just added that boss to the single player game. I mean, they really could have surprised all of us if they decided that right after we beat Robot Patrick, Robot Squidward comes out and he's fucking pissed. And I think that would have fit too, because right after I beat the Robot Sandy, the cutscene lingered on it for a few seconds. And all I was thinking was, is it going to get back up and make me have to fight it again? For real, like I thought that the boss fight with the robot Sandy in the remake was too easy. So in the cutscene when it's lingering on the body for like a few seconds, I thought that the robot boss was gonna get back up and make me have to fight it again while it's super pissed and a harder second phase. That would have been awesome. And again, this idea could have been incorporated with Robot Patrick. However, it could have been another surprise when it doesn't get back up and Robot Squidward comes out instead for the second phase. So again, there are just some opportunities here that I feel that the remake missed that they really could have capitalized on, but chose not to. So when it comes to whether or not I'd recommend this game, especially since I'm a big fan of the original, I say that this game has a lot to offer to make it worth playing. However, it could have offered a whole lot more. So, SpongeBob SquarePants, Battle of Bikini Bottom, Rehydrated. Yeah, check it out.